Some of them even know I serve on the board of directors of Jazz at Lincoln Center here in New York City, where the artistic director is 34-year-old Wynton Marsalis. Is my doing a story about him a conflict of interest? If somebody wants to think so, I can live with that. Not long ago, critics were saying jazz was dead, that no one wanted to hear it anymore. But then Marsalis and his trumpet came along and breathed new life back into the music. How do you deal with critics who say that your playing is technically superior to those around you, but lacks emotion and feeling?
This is how I respond to them. I mean, you know, I play. 1, 2, 1.
He still has that cocky edge that can rub critics the wrong way. But he's no longer the arrogant prodigy from New Orleans who burst onto the national scene at the age of 20. Marsalis is leader of the band now. The kid has grown up.
You know, when you're young, the older musicians always tell you, you're going to learn. They laugh, like you say something. And they all say, well, that's all right. It's good to be young, too, and dumb.
How have you changed over the last 15 years of playing out here every day?
Oh, man, a lot. I mean, I'm calmer. When I was young, I was always excited, you know. Got to do it today. And I was always paranoid about not ever being able to play good enough. You know, never being able to play good enough.
Marsalis has always been a dedicated student of jazz. Now he's passing on what he's learned. Here, taking the time to urge a young musician to study.
Listen to Louie Armstrong, too. You can't go wrong. You know, since he was a singer, his concept of playing is different.
You talk highly of Louie Armstrong now, but you didn't always.
When I was growing up, I didn't know, you know. I didn't. To me, he just was waving a handkerchief and Uncle Tom. And
what changed your opinion of Louie Armstrong?
Well, I started listening to his music. And first, I tried to play some of it. Then, man, that stuff is so hard to play. And just listening and reading and meeting people who knew him, hearing about him, studying him, just discovering him. It's like what happens when you find out about jazz in general.
Look at me.
But the Wynton Marsalis view of jazz has been called by some old-fashioned and too conservative.
Here we go.
His personal taste has actually become a volatile issue since he became artistic director of Jazz at Lincoln Center 8 years ago. Marsalis has been accused of failing to celebrate the achievements of white jazz composers, and some writers even charge he has a racist agenda.
I hate to even get into this, you know what I mean? Because automatically, when you start answering this kind of stuff, you get dragged down to the level that the argument is on. So the first fact is we have played music by many different composers. But the backbone of our program is jazz music. And the greatest composer in jazz is Duke Ellington. And that fact is not going to change, regardless of what they write.
Is jazz primarily an African-American music form?
Jazz was invented by the Afro-American. But an art form is not the province of any people. Like Beethoven's music is Beethoven's music. It's Germanic music, but they can't say that's our music. If you can take Beethoven's music and do something with it, it's yours. That's how art works.
He took Beethoven's music and Bach's and Haydn's and did something with it. At 14, he made his debut with the New Orleans Philharmonic. In 1983, he became the first to win Grammys for jazz and classical in the same year. Marsalis works hard at his art. We were watching you practice one day, the Brandenburg Concerto, and you said that hitting the high notes was painful.
Boy, knows any trumpet player in the world will tell you, those are some painful notes in that piece.
So sometimes it hurts to play?
Oh, man, the trumpet? Lord have mercy, yes. It's just this metal, you know? And you're trying to take the metal and make it bend. And in the Brandenburg Concerto, you never stop playing. So not only does it hurt, it keeps hurting.
Are you torn between classical and jazz?
First, I'm a jazz musician. I love jazz. Now, I love classical music also, but just jazz music is like the life that we live. And it's fun, you know.
Classical music's not fun?
It's fun, but it's a different kind of fun. It's a group effort, so you're playing with a group, but you know what you're going to play. So the only way you can surprise yourself is by messing up. And in jazz, you never know what's going to be played, ever.
He was 6 years old when he got his first trumpet from the bandleader Al Hurt, a friend of his father Ellis, who played jazz piano and taught his sons music. Wynton and his older brother Branford took the lessons to heart.
I guess a lot of his attitude towards his chosen music came from observing what I did.
I can still remember, you know, stuff that he would practice. Do-do-do-do-dee-do-be-do-be-do-be-do-do-do-do. This little exercise he would do. And that sound is always in my music.
So too are the sounds he heard growing up in Kenner, Louisiana, in a neighborhood located between the Mississippi River and the wrong side of the tracks.
My mom used to always tell us this story that we were both sitting in a car and the train was going past. And she said, and Branford looked over and he said, the train is going woo. I said, no, the train is going canunk, 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 canunk. 1, 2, Remember, this is the train. The train.
That childhood train is now part of the music he writes, just as he finds inspiration in a car horn or a human voice. He hears music everywhere.
My door is broken now in my apartment, and it goes, people we are. That's like, so you open it, goes, so I don't want to fix it because I like that sound. It sounds like Coltrane, kind of.
It was his father who taught him about Coltrane and other jazz masters like Monk and Dizzy Gillespie. But it was his mother, Dolores, who first made him toe the line with practice every day. But after a while, she didn't have to force it.
He says, well, you know, I'm going to get off the softball team this year. And I says, why, sweetheart? I'm going to do it because I'm taking this music to a different level, Mom. I'm taking it to a higher level. And I can't fool around with baseball anymore.
How old was he then?
10, 11.
What about his sense of self and appearance? Appearance was very important to him.
He was always like that. I went to all his concerts, and he would always ask me, how did you enjoy the music? Good. How was my stage appearance? So he was very aware of his stage appearance from early on.
And he still is.
The jacket, the pants, I don't want no wrinkles on it.
Warming up at an ironing board is a ritual before every concert.
It's like a prom or something. Every night it's a ceremony, and this is a part of that ceremony. Who people have worked their jobs all week or something, you know, they're tired. And they've taken their time to come out and check out our concert. And that's a serious thing to me. And I want to have something on that's going to make them feel good, too. So if I'm not playing nothing, they say, well, at least he was clean. He couldn't play, but he was clean. When I was in high school, me and my brother played in the funk band. Man, we play a dance, it'd be 2,000 people there, 3,000. I go to my father's jobs, it'd be like 25 people. You know, so we would always be saying, man, Daddy can play, and nobody comes to hear him play. And we sad, and everybody comes and checks us out.
Marsalis has always checked out the older jazz musicians, asking questions and absorbing what they have to teach. He dropped out of New York's prestigious Juilliard School to study jazz on the road with Art Blakey's band. Even today, he still takes time to learn from those who've gone before him, and he passes it on. He's on the road 300 days a year, and at every stop, he makes an effort to meet the people. And while most musicians don't want anyone to touch their instrument, Marsalis encourages fans to pick up his horn.
You got a nice sound, man. If you let them play your horn, they remember. I remember when Dizzy Gillespie let me play his horn. That boy played something sad on it too. He said, my daddy said, man, my son plays the trumpet, you know, meet Diz. And I said, Diz said, yeah, you a trumpet player? I said, yeah, you know. He said, here, man, you're a player. So I picked his arm, I said, and he was like, so, you know, he didn't know, you know, he didn't know what to do. So he went, yeah. Then he took his arm back and said, practice now, every day, even if it's just for 10 minutes.
Just like his idol, Louis Armstrong, he serves as an ambassador for jazz all over the world, in places like Marcillac, a small village in southern France, where he plays for one generation and teaches the next. Marsalis encourages children to play jazz wherever he goes. He first met these French kids 2 years ago and returned last summer to play and to check out their progress. Why do you ask kids to sing sometimes in your class?
When I hear a person sing, I can hear their personality, their sound. A lot of times, the way you play your horn will be like your voice. And when you play your horn, you want to be singing.
He seems to be constantly in a learning mode, which is not always the case with musicians.
And Wynton has always felt an obligation to his father.
I wanted him to be proud. I wanted to learn how to play, really. And not just for him to be proud, but for all the musicians, because I could feel from the older musicians a sense of deep disappointment at what had happened.
When you say what had happened, you mean the decline of jazz and the popularity of jazz?
Yeah, just a whole way of life, you know. I always had that feeling. Here's the musicians have all of this to give, and nobody wants it. So I wanted to, when I was younger, I wanted to make the musicians proud.
Do you think you've made them proud?
Yeah, I think it.
Your life seems so full with the touring, with the writing, the work at Lincoln Center, other composing that you're doing. I mean, your mother said that she hopes that you'll be able to stop and smell the roses sometime.
Man, that's all the roses there. That's what you smelling them. When you write some music or, you know, you pick your horn up and you go to play, how good that feels, then you can deal with everything that you've heard and felt. That's the beauty of it, the art of it, the soul of it. That's the jazz music.